What's up, humans? You are listening to the What is Humans podcast with Shane Strunk and Dennis Kluba. Make sure to follow us on our social media pages, on Instagram at What is Humans podcast, on TikTok at What is Humans podcast, and on YouTube at What is Humans podcast. Today, Dennis and I are discussing accept problems. Enjoy.
Ooh la la, are we weed? 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 Ooh la la. Looking for amps like all
Hey.
What's going on? You're listening to the What is Humans podcast with Shane Strunk and Dennis Kluba. If you've never listened to this podcast before, it's a personal development podcast in which Shane and myself, Dennis, talk about our own personal stories and things that are going on in our life in hopes of trying to get better and learn from them. And hopefully you at home can learn and grow yourself as well. And most importantly, we're experts in almost nothing.
What's up, dude?
Hey, nothing much, man. Constantly, just moving, shaking, trying to figure it out. But we got a wide angle today, a little bit wider view of the studio. So not just the headshots. So kind of cool.
Yeah, with the new format coming in, we needed a third camera.
Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, originally we were going off our iPhones, so just like the different versions, we're throwing off the camera look. So we got them all uniform. It's steps forward. It's problems that we've found and we've overcome.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we're talking about today, which is accept problems.
Yeah.
What does that mean off the top? And also, let's just be honest, it sounds kind of contradictory. Accepting problems doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, like, would you ever accept a problem in your life?
But yeah, that's what it is,
Yeah, I guess that's how it does sound.
Yeah.
We always workshop our titles right before, so it's top of mind is like, I think it is contradictory.
Yeah.
Like, I think the idea comes from like not avoiding problems.
Yeah.
Like not pushing things down the road and, just because they could become bigger problems. I think that was the original idea. And also just like, we've had to deal with a lot of change, I would just say, in this past 2 years, and problems arise, if that's podcast running, work, relationships, etc. And there's many, I think, lessons from problems that we could point out. And I guess like approaches we've taken, through that. So that was kind of my first idea when we came up with this idea of accept problems. We'll obviously go more into depth, but what was your original idea with this?
I was really thinking about it from a business perspective, and I thought about how your own problems and what you're going through also relates to what happens on multiple layers and levels outside, whether that's relationships, that's business, etc. Basically, it's like as an employee or as someone who's trying to provide a service or provide value, you seek out problems that other people have and you try and solve those problems for them. In return, you get some sort of value, whether that's experience, monetary value, etc.
Sure.
In our own lives, our ability to solve problems allows us to have and bring ourselves more value from if there was a problem that arose where it was like, hey, I don't know how to do X, how to plan out my schedule or my calendar. That, until you solve that problem, is totally going to affect everything else in your life. So your ability to tackle and solve that problem also allows you then the value to be a better human being, do better. So accepting problems for what they are, but then looking to solve them on a personal level, but then solve them in terms of business, in terms of how you can help other people as well, I think is like where I was coming from with this idea and topic.
I think that's interesting. I feel like we, jump in here too, is like, at least when I think of problems, I think of it's my problem. It's a problem with me. Like I put it like either blame on myself or like, hey, you don't understand. No one understands. Like, my problem's unique. You know, no one has walked in my shoes.
Yeah.
So they're my unique problem.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a common thing. I'm sure it is. Mm-hmm. But like, what is it about how we associate our own problems? I love the idea of like, you know, like in sales or something when, you know, we should be seeking to bring value, to solve problems for like a customer or something. Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
What is it about on an individual basis, why it's important to understand where someone's coming from, mm-hmm. you know, empathize with them, or if it's give yourself grace on your own unique problem.
Yeah. I think this is such an interesting point, what you're saying too, because I think that a lot of times, I don't know that this is specific to male or female, but I think that, I don't know if it's a type of personality, but I think that stereotypically men can be prone to problem solving as opposed to just listening and understanding maybe those unique problems that a partner or a friend has.
Sure.
And so in that case, you don't have to solve problems for other people or for yourself. It's more like those unique problems that you're having. It's just sharing them and bouncing them off of other people that allows you to like, you know, get it off your chest. But I really don't think that your problems are your own. And I think that I've developed that over time of everyone everywhere is going through some form of the same thing. And I think with our, the accessibility of like search engines and social media, you've just seen it so much more like, oh, other people have been depressed before. Other people have dealt with problems, you know, of, you know, their parents getting older, or other people have dealt with problems of, you know, I don't know what to do with my best friend who's moving away.
Sure.
And by like those stories and those things that are told online or in books, I feel like that helps me to not feel alone in my problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the access to tools and information is great. I also think does the opposite effect. At least in my experience, it's like just because I know the answer doesn't mean I always accept the answer or I'm willing to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. You know, if it is, you know, something personal to you.
Yeah.
I still will associate it with, hey, this is my unique problem. So sorry to therapize you. I'm trying to seek to solve it myself. It's like, how do we disassociate that, like you described, mm-hmm. of this isn't just unique to you. This is a common thing that happens.
Yeah.
That shit happens to, you know,
Everyone.
Happens, you know, it's okay to be, you know, sad, mad, happy, you know, describe how you like dissociate, you know, that problem from yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe there is, you know, scenarios where I do that too. So I'm just curious.
I just think it's like sharing. And also I feel like I've done like 2 years of therapy myself.
Sure.
So like a lot of times something that helps is like the things that I feel or I talk about. It's like, I recognize that they're general to a certain, you know, specificity, like being an athlete and that identity changing when I was no longer a collegiate athlete. Talking to other athletes, they felt that exact same way.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not alone in this. And that gives me strength.
Definitely.
And then same thing goes is therapists will tell you and talk to you about like, oh, like other people, I've talked to other people, they have the same issues as you. This isn't, you know, odd or weird. So do you feel like you don't gain strength in knowing that it's like something that everyone goes through? Or you like to think that it is like just my problem?
I would say I definitely gain strength.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you or I would like still be, you know, one person, you know, and not like a shared unit going through that problem. It's not like we're working together through it. It's like I see that like, okay, they've overcome something. I can do something similar.
Yeah.
So I'm going to find out my own way how to do that.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a, hey, here's the blueprint, do this,
Yeah.
do that, and then do this.
Yeah.
And then it all works itself out.
Even if it's out there,
Even
it
if it's
doesn't
out
feel
there.
like it's a team effort. It's still, I have to deal with this.
Yeah,
it's
let's
my issue.
just like, so it's like,
Yeah.
for soccer, for example, like, holy shit, like played my whole life.
Yeah.
And then, you know, put like my identity with it. You know, we've talked about this on this podcast, and, you know, from an injury, you know, I just didn't know, you know, post-career what it would look like.
Right.
And then I feel like people do this like post-college. You don't know.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot of like the first job, the first career. Yeah. So like in our 20s, like it's kind of the unknown of what's next type thing. I think that's something that people, you know, have lots of problems around.
Yeah.
Maybe this myself does. Mm-hmm. So, should we be identifying, you know, these problems, and should we be actively taking steps, you know, to seek community? I'm kind of answering this here. Should we be actively like trying to seek community, you know, connection and sharing of our problems?
Yeah.
Like I'm also been told like, don't give fuel to the fire. Like if you highlight that it's a problem and you keep talking about how it's a problem, you're not taking steps forward. So I've just seen both arguments.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I think you're right. There's conflict around it. I think you answered it to a certain degree of, I think this topic, what I'm arguing for is, you know, the problem, the thing that seems to be the obstacle in your life. And a lot of times we don't know what that is, right? You know, where do we fit in? What's our purpose post-college, you know, post-grad life? It's very hard to pinpoint what the solution is. And it's unique to you. It's not going to be the same as everyone else. Yeah. You can have a blueprint that is, hey, this is how you should maybe go about because it helped and worked for me.
Or this is how I did it.
Exactly.
Some person you watched online.
Exactly. But it's still going to be your journey through that. But I think that, like you said, I just feel so deeply that if we share our problems, it helps get feedback from other people, but it also helps to a certain degree commiserate. Other people will be like, oh, I am connected to them. And I think that connection brings value to the people that are watching, but also yourself, because you feel like you made an impact by being vulnerable, by being honest. But I know what you're saying too about the more you talk about a problem, are you just making it bigger in your own mind, in your own life? Yeah,
I think something that like from these two like talking points was really just like how like we often victimize ourselves on, you know, we should be at this point in our life.
Right.
You expected to be, you know, in this career, to be making this money, to be married and have, you know, 4 kids, to have the house, you know, in the suburbs.
Right.
We put like these expectations and ideas around where we should be. And the thing about life and our journey is like, we don't know our end destination. Like we need to struggle. We need to overcome hurdles.
Yeah.
We need to share, like you said, in experiences, you know, with people that are similar, going through something like you are. And that's like what relationships are, is support.
Yeah.
So it's like, you help me answer that, but it's like specifically like, I think that the victimization that like we put on ourselves, I think it's like something we'll need to talk about in our house at some point. And specifically like how we're identifying this problem is so unique to you.
Yeah. And I think that the whole thing is, like you said, it's like, how do we take that problem and then plan to solve for it? That's the whole thing is like, if we're just talking about the woes in our life, the, you know, feeling sorry for ourselves, that's definitely not the message. I think it's find that problem and then say, okay, how do we go about tackling this? The one thing I love that you said too is struggling together with somebody to tackle that problem is so much like, they talk about struggling well.
Sure.
You should be going after something and struggling through something that you want to put your all into solving, or, you know, into, like, life isn't a problem to solve, but there's problems that come up in life.
Sure.
So you want to be with somebody that's also there to help you solve problems when things go wrong, because things are going to go wrong.
Definitely.
You know, and like, that's where if you can seek out things ahead of time that you want to put your effort, your energy, your resources into solving, I think like that's where it's like, there's so much value in that. But man, another thing that happens too is like, you can create problems when they're not there. If you're over analyzing, you're doing too much.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
You
too.
get in your own head and think like, oh, I need to be, like you said, I need to be more, I need to be further, as opposed to just living, like experiencing.
Well, it gets back to our topic idea of accepting exactly where you are, no matter what.
Yeah.
And kind of like not giving such harsh judgment on where you are.
Yeah.
Like if you can take that with full acceptance of all your problems, like accept all your problems.
Yeah.
All your baggage, your red flags, whatever it is. Like take them. That's the only way you can actually take steps after that to improve.
Yeah.
The other point I want to talk about that you said, I just thought was interesting is like when we are going about solving our problems or taking a hard look at them, I feel like there's activities that are at least healthy steps forward. Maybe they aren't resolving it, versus behaviors and activities that kind of push the rock down the road.
Right.
Or just put it off for now. So there's plenty of behaviors that, you know, you and I have indulged in too.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe we should talk about some of those things, on avoiding some problems and actually taking healthy steps forward if it means sacrificing things.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Like, I think that there's so many things in our life that we want to do, and, you know, problems come up or opportunities come up. And the hardest thing is identifying the problems and then putting a plan in place to get better.
Sure.
It's in the the best thing and the worst thing ever is someone like a friend or a family member bringing the problem that you already know that you have to you, and you know it, and being like, yeah, I know, it's I haven't done that.
Yeah, it's like grandma every Thanksgiving, like, you know, who are you going to marry? Like,
I know.
Yeah, it's like, seriously.
I don't know yet. Right.
Like, I don't already think about that daily. Like, geez, come on.
And so, yeah, it's like, I think that the healthy way, and like you said, accepting problems is there's identifying problems, accepting them, but then recognizing, okay, what are the ways that we go forward to maybe try and solve this problem, as opposed to just letting it be pushed down the road and cripple us.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, like, you ever been on a bender of a weekend and then on Sunday you don't want to look at your bank account. That's just 101, push it down the road. I don't want to look at it. I don't even know. And that's the thing where it's like people their whole lives will never put together like a budget, right? They're bad with money and they've accepted that.
Yeah.
It's so hard,
Right.
but if you can tackle that problem, your life will improve.
I mean, we've done so many topics on like discipline creates freedom.
Yeah.
I think that's the point, like for like these bad habits. Like I think just drinking has been a great example for us.
Yeah.
You know, coming from the Midwest, it's just something we did in college, and you know, it's something fun that we do with friends and community. And like, if you like can't sacrifice certain things like that, for example, like who says you know, if you want to achieve your dreams, that like the stars will align one day and it will just magically show up at your doorstep, or the person that you want to be with will just show up in your life. So it's like you have to take healthy steps forward that seem backwards, that seem sideways, that seem unproductive, and maybe you don't know the path forward, but it's healthy steps for you.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, I'm going to keep doing the same thing, these same behaviors. I'm going to watch that show. I'm going to push off that run. I'm going to say, hey, I might get to it. I'm going to get to it this weekend.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to get to it tomorrow. But I'm going to get that second drink, though.
Yeah.
There's just like scenarios like that. It's like, that's a hard thing that you have to battle, that we battle. So it's just like, I think that's the distinction and how we need to put discipline specifically in place, like to accept these problems.
Yeah. And I think too, like completely with what you're saying is problems don't magically disappear, right? Solutions don't, like you said, pop up at your door. They don't just happen.
Yeah.
And so I think in congruence with what you're saying, it's like, if somebody comes to you and say, hey, I don't know what I want to do with my life, my job, but they're like, I'm trying a bunch of different things. I'm like, hey, I don't know if that's the right answer, to how to get there, but that sounds like a pretty damn good start.
At least you're not doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a problem.
You're trying to figure it out. Or, hey, I want to lose weight. I tried to do a bunch of different workouts, like, or I did this for 3 months. It didn't really stick, so I'm going to try this. I'm like, you're trying to solve a problem that you deem as a problem within your life. And that is moving the ball, moving towards it.
If you want to change an outcome, you probably have to change your behavior.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the biggest thing is when we deny problems or we don't accept them, we push them off further and further down the road. You think of like when your parents have a home and you have something that you need to fix at the home, or like even us, like I think we had like
the water filter.
Yeah, the water filter. No one wanted to do the easiest thing of put in the work order to the apartment.
It's just on red.
Easiest thing. But like it
wasn't like our water was terrible. But.
No. All we had to do was submit it. But I swear for like 3 months, neither of us were like, ugh.
It's red.
That sounds terrible. And you can exacerbate that to whatever the actual problem is. But the minute that you like sit down, be calm and say, okay, let's just do it. Let's just move towards fixing it.
It's like a hack I do for like my running.
Yeah.
It's like we've talked about like just put your shoes on.
Yeah.
Is like the hardest thing to do. Mm-hmm. Or it's just like show up to the gym.
Yeah.
Or it's like book the race.
Yeah.
Like if you want to run the race, the first thing you have to do is book it.
Yeah.
Like at least you have so it's like take that hard first step. Do that one thing of make your bed.
Yeah.
Of put your shoes on, lay out your clothes the night before. Like do these like little things that can at least help you so you don't have to make a decision later.
Yeah.
I feel like decisions, being overwhelmed with so many decisions in a day defers problems. Do you agree with this? Like if we have so many decisions to make, we're going to put off problems.
Yeah. I mean, completely. Like you said it best when you're talking about like if it's run the marathon as the goal or get healthier as the goal, but you've decided to do running, it's like, well, if there's 25 steps to get out the door, well, I'm not going to do that. It's like, but if you have, all you have to do is put the shoes on, get outside. It's like, all right, I literally have a 2-step process I need to get through here. That's it. But if you plan it out, you do all these things and you say, I got to make a business plan. I got to do all that stuff. It's like, oh my God, that's going to take incredible discipline. That's a long drawn out thing. Simplifying those problems into very basic understanding, I think helps you get to the solving part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why like those CEOs try and limit their decisions so much by like wearing the same clothes every day. And like, they're like, all I want to do is work on these 3 problems today.
Yeah.
I don't want any other distractions.
I used to do this thing in college. I'm curious if you remember what I would like if I was procrastinating on homework or a project.
Yeah.
I would say like, hey, future Shane's got it.
Yeah, I remember it well.
No problem. Like he's got it. I believe in him. It was just like a thing I would do it's a terrible thing. And I don't agree with this, but I'm arguing for the opposite of it is like, give your future self a break here.
Yeah.
Like, help Shane tomorrow where your clothes are laid out, or it's
Yeah.
like your room is clean.
Yeah.
You can get to your clothes, or it's like your shoes are laid out for your morning run.
Yeah.
It's like, do little things to help yourself tomorrow
Yeah.
achieve that goal or dream, or take that step forward, or book that thing, versus pushing it down the road and hoping that, and just saying that, like, hey, like, I'll get around to it at some point.
Yeah. And every problem is a million little steps, right? So you just have to do
Break it
the
down.
littlest step. And
Yeah.
man, I just think about, you remember like being a kid, like you're in high school, all you want to do is sleep. Like, you know, like you're playing sports, you're tired. And it's like your parents come in, they're like, hey, today we're doing the laundry. And you're like, oh my God. And at that time, as a high school or grade school kid, all you have to do is literally put your laundry in the
mom
basket
did, yeah.
and like bring it to the laundry room. That's all she's asking.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the worst thing ever. I've never been through worse in my life. But then you grew up and you're an adult and you're like, yeah, that's being an adult, is like looking at the problem of doing laundry and being like, okay, I just have to get it to the washing machine.
Yeah.
And that's still hard.
First world problems right here. Unbelievable.
All right. How do we go about accepting the problems, taking small steps to break them down?
I think there has to be something around like our mindset
Yeah.
with problems. You know, we talked about like originally, like in my example of like how we put all the problems on ourselves. Like, hey, this is my unique problem. No one else in the world has ever experienced this in the history of the world. No one has gone through something like this. I think that's
True.
something you have to understand is just completely not true.
Yeah.
And if you can understand that, like, go out and seek help. Ask a
Counsel,
friend.
yeah.
Like, see someone that, like, you admire, or a peer that's going through something similar.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, like, how'd you do that? Like,
Yeah.
I see you've been running these marathons. You started this business. Like, I've been trying to do that. Like,
Yeah.
pick their brain.
Yeah.
Ask people. So go out and ask.
Yeah. I think what you said is just recognizing that by making them your unique problems and being lonely in that journey, I think is the opposite of how you can begin to accept the problem and,
Sure.
you know, get moving towards it. I think that after we do that, you know, like asking for help, it's how can you almost, and this reminds me so much of, you talked about runs, you know, but I think like, it's like, just do, like, wrap your mind around, okay, we got to get started.
Yeah.
The smallest thing. I remember when we do sprints, like for, whether it was in college or in high school, you know, playing soccer, it was like, okay, if you do, like I would do, like, you know, you do 4 and you're doing 10. It's like, okay, as soon as you get to 5, it's downhill. You're already done.
Yeah.
And so it's like, in my mind, it's always, okay, what do I need to do to trick my mind into believing we're almost done?
Yeah.
So what's that thing, whatever
I think
problem
it's
it
like,
is?
set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
You know how I was talking about, like, lay out your shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, in that example is like, don't like identify it as a big problem. Break it down into pieces is what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's like in your runs, you are breaking it down into small, digestible pieces. So
Exactly.
make the problem digestible.
Yeah,
That's
could trick your mind almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a third thing, we talk about like accepting the problem, and then you're taking small steps towards solving it. I also think that in this, you know, it's just personal. I think you can't put too much pressure on it, because I think that it goes both ways, right? You talked about if you blow it up and make it big, it's like identify the problem, take steps towards it, but recognize that you're doing good trying to solve it.
Right.
Don't be like, it almost creates a secondary problem if you're like, I haven't figured out what I want to do in my life yet.
Yeah.
You know, but you're trying, then you put more pressure, and then it compounds. Like, accept the problem, I'm moving towards solving it, that's great. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to solve world hunger overnight. It's a long battle.
Yeah.
Survive, like thriving, surviving, living.
Give yourself grace.
Grace. Yeah.
To mess up. Like, even if you've, the first step, you disassociate your problems from your unique problems too, and you've taken digestible steps. Like, it doesn't mean like you're still gonna mess up, you're still gonna fall. Like, you are gonna fail.
Yeah.
Like, and if you understand that, that's where I think you can not put so much pressure on yourself. Of like, I was on this streak like 13 days in a row, slipped up here. I'm the worst person ever.
Yeah.
Versus the, hey, like, so be it. Like, let's just start again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that's like if you can instill that idea of like, hey, you will mess up. Like, there will be times when you get sick or you mess up and you do the wrong thing. Understand that. And then you can easily pick back up again tomorrow.
And it's the sum of our parts.
Yes.
And if you do it consistently and you have a couple mess ups, like, you're going to be greater than you were before. Yeah. Why are we talking about this today?
Yeah. I think like for me, I don't know about for you, but it's like, I've been one to push problems down the road. I have a great discipline, work ethic, totally. But it's so important to identify, to accept wherever you are, and if you want to improve. And that was just a reminder. It's something we probably already know deep down, and that was why it's important.
Yeah, no, this really came to me in terms of like, I was thinking totally from like a business perspective, but I just think that everything in life is, hey, these problems that give people headaches, it takes a lot of energy to solve those in your personal life and in my personal life.
Sure.
Everything you use and you value is someone went out there and said, hey, I can solve that problem for you. Or you do it yourself, right? And so it's like, look around. Everything that you're using is someone had a problem before. Like, they didn't know, there weren't chairs before with backs. Someone's like, I should make one of those. So I think that it's like I used to think, and I still do, it's very normal. It's like problems come up. You're like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. But I'm starting to flip and be like, oh, problems are probably the greatest source of like, oh, how can I improve my life? Like this problem, don't think of it as the worst. Think of it as like, oh, there's an opportunity to solve and change. And,
the universe puts an obstacle for you to change your path.
How are we to
improve?
Yeah. How are we going to get around this? How are we going to use it? I used to think problems are such an issue. Now it's like, you think of people that start businesses, like find problems and be like, oh, I can solve that for you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick recap. Yeah. So today we talked about accepting problems.
Yeah.
We kind of originally talked about the idea just generally like in business, like of how like, if we need to bring value to our customers, to a client, to a product, you have to find a problem that it solves.
Yeah.
On a more personal note, we talked about just how often we associate our problems as unique to us.
Yeah. As
you are the only one, or I am the only one that has ever been through this problem in the history of the world, and it's unique to me. And we just kind of came through the realization through discussion of like how that's not totally true.
Not true. Yeah. And then we talked about the hows, and the first step really was that, which is disassociating your unique problems from yourself and recognizing that by sharing, by seeking out information, we're much more capable of solving and being kind of less lonely on that journey. Then we talked about taking small steps, taking
digestible steps.
Yeah.
That are, sorry to jump you
off. You're good.
That are digestible, that are simple, instead of looking at the whole of the problem of how many steps are in this race to one step at a time.
Yeah, completely. And then finally, we talked about giving yourself grace in the journey of problem solving. Like shit's going to go wrong. Like you're going to mess
up.
up, but you're moving, like you're doing the things to do it. And that's what's important, not the messing up once every, in a while, right? Don't put so much pressure on yourself that you create a secondary problem.
Totally. And we talked about our whys. Mine was just around how it's so important to accept your reality, accept the problems that you have in your life in order, to improve them. Yeah. If you keep putting them down the road, if you keep saying, hey, future Shane will take care of it, problems won't be resolved.
No.
You have to change something if you want change. Yeah. If you keep doing the same thing, expect the same results.
Completely. And then I just really talked about how I used to think problems, and I still do to a certain degree, how big of an issue they were going to be for me to solve and how to get past. But now I recognize that problems are oftentimes the opportunities in our lives to find new ways to get better and to make other people better as well.
Yep. And I think that wraps another week of
What is Humans. Thanks, guys.